Hello, everybody. Mike Swenson here with Real Freedom, and I have a wonderful guest here today. Today we have Ryan O'Neill, and he's going to share with us his journey of building a real estate team up to be the #1 team in all of Remax in closed transactions is where we're at today. And so obviously extremely successful on the team building side, and then he has a lot of a background to share as far as how he got to where he is today. And he's going to talk a little bit about investing and some of the other goals that he has heading here into the future. So welcome, Ryan. If you want to just go ahead and get started and maybe just give us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, no, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity. Enjoy the show and what you're doing for others. So thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm the youngest of 6. I grew up in New Prague, Minnesota here, about 45 minutes south of the Twin Cities. And I have been in real estate now since about 2001, right out of college, actually. One of my older brothers and I I joined him in the music business for a number of years, right out of college, but fortunate enough to be now in the real estate business when I purchased a duplex in Bloomington. My wife and I live in Bloomington now, and I purchased the duplex and was living in the lower half and renting out the upstairs. And that was sort of my start, if you will, into kind of the real estate world and to what I'm doing now from a kind of a agent, team, broker standpoint.
Great. So why don't you just walk us through how you, maybe if you want to just talk, let's just start with the real estate investment side.
Sure.
How did you get to that one duplex, to where strategically you're like, this is where I want to go. And then how did that move forward into future properties for you?
Yeah, I think, for me, real estate, getting my real estate license, when I bought this duplex in Bloomington, I worked with a couple agents, very nice people, very helpful. But I felt, why don't I get my license myself? And I could represent myself on any future purchases that I'd have. Again, this was the early 2000s. So you have to remember lending requirements were different. Down payment requirements were different. But for me, I've always been, I would say, a little bit of a risk taker in being strategic, but also, kind of willing to give things a chance. And so for me, I had been renting actually from my brother Tim for a long time, and I finally reached a spot. I said, "All right, it's probably time to become an adult and look at." Getting my own place. And so the idea of a duplex had always was of interest to me because, again, if you could be living somewhere collecting rent and almost be living rent free, but yet owning the property. So for me, there was a lot of financial parts about it that were very interesting to me. And so I ended up purchasing a couple other single family homes close by that I rented out and learned a little bit about how do I find tenants, how do I screen the tenants, really everything about being a landlord. And so that process of finding some investment properties, renting out the properties, dealing with the good and the bad is kind of, again, how I started as an agent in this business, because I realized early on there were a lot of people looking to also invest in real estate. And so for me, that's how the agent side of the business really started, as I worked in those first few years, really helping a lot of other investors find properties. But most importantly, then actually help them rent those properties. So I wouldn't just kind of shake their hand at closing and say, "Hey, congratulations, Mike, you got an investment property." I would actually take them through the process of getting it rented. And what I found then is within a couple months, 6 months, a year, they would call up and say, "Hey, Ryan, we're thinking of buying another one." And so I think partly because I'm a very, I would share everything with the client, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So it wasn't some kind of sugar coated get rich quick or investment property is just the best thing and it's all sunshine and rainbows. It was real life, good and bad that I was personally experiencing that I think people responded to and said, "Hey, yeah, you know what? Thank you for being honest and transparent about it, and I'd like to learn more." But again, I think anybody who may be watching who's thinking about again growing your business, building wealth, real estate has been just for obviously decades one of the best ways for an average guy like me to go out and really leverage and really start to build something. And so part of it does require a little bit of risk taking. You have to be willing to try, but much like anything in life, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And so I think the first thing is being open to it, but not being afraid of it either, because a lot of people are just afraid of the process.
Yeah, and I like what you said about adding value for your clients, because that's one of the things where as agents, a lot of times they think very transactional, right? Like, oh, it's a tally on the board this year. And moving to that next level of this is a relationship that when done well, it can lead into future transactions, right?
Right.
And so, I take a look back at the first agent that I used before I had my real estate license, and I thought she did a fantastic job. And that led to another transaction. We had done a little bit of investing, and then, friends or coworkers, I would refer them to her as well. And so that can really grow. And so I love for you, it was, okay, how can I add value after the closing? When I add value, they're more likely to come back to me versus just, oh, I don't remember who my agent was at closing, and now I'll just pick another one the next time. It's no, they want to come back to you. And if you're working with investors who are doing multiple transaction year over year over year, that's a great way for your business to blossom just by doing a good job with the people that you have.
Well, and I think, Mike, you bring up a good point, because as agents, as brokers, really whatever business you're in, if you look at filling a need, at providing value and filling a need, the phone will ring. And I think sometimes what's easy in the real estate world is, I remember when I started, there was, I would look and I'd see the bus bench. I'll just pick a random marketing tech, the bus bench, and I would see the agent and the phone number. And the way I would always think as a consumer is, why should I call you? Why do I need you? And so a lot of what I've tried to do in a small way is through what we do as a team, what we do from a marketing standpoint is providing value, filling a need, and through that customers engage and come. And again, that may sound really simple, but I just think sometimes it's easy for us all to get the cart before the horse and not think about, again, what is my value proposition? What am I looking to provide to others? Whether it's, again, a consumer looking to work with an agent, whether it's an agent looking to work with a real estate team or a broker, it's all about value. And it's a kind of a two-way accountability street. And that's what I like about, in being in the team business, is that it's an accountability back to me or back to the team. If there's no value or it's not good for them, you and I, we know in this business, people can move and transfer their license at any time. So it keeps you on your toes. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you saying, hey, what am I going to do to make it good for other people?
Right. And if you have it figured out today, that doesn't mean you have it figured out 2 years from now or 5 years from now, because things change.
Right.
And so
right.
You have to continue to bring that value day in and day out so that folks want to stick around and stay with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, to your initial question about investment property, mm-hmm. I think if you are watching right now and you're currently renting, hey, no big deal. I rented for a very long time. A lot of people rent for a lot of reasons. Think about buying your first property. Look at again right now the cost of renting versus owning. FHA. I saw FHA increase their limits here recently to even a higher price. You can buy with 3.5% down. So it's, saving up some monies, a little bit each month, making some small daily, weekly steps to start building to something. That's with any business, with any company, it can be hard because again, we see the long journey and it's daunting and can be deflating versus trying to look at it more as a daily journey and saying, what can I do today to meaningfully move things along? And I think when you look back over 6 months or a year, good things start to happen. And so that's what I try to do. And it's hard because we're hard on ourselves. We feel like, well, I should own more property, or I should have more sales, or whatever it is. Wherever you're at, that's okay. Just focusing on that daily progress to get you financially where you want to go. That's the key.
So then, kind of continuing the conversation in the rental space, you bought the duplex, you picked up a couple single family homes. Take us from there to where you're at today.
Yeah, so my wife and I, we own, it's about 15 different rentals. I have not purchased anything for actually quite probably since 2006, 2007. The main reason why is I kind of went all in. My personality is it's a little bit my personality. When I do something, I kind of go all in. And for me, I manage those properties myself as well. And so it's enough on my plate, and it's sort of enough from an investment standpoint that, I'm interested in other things too, in businesses, in stock markets, all types of different things. So, I mean, from an investment side, it is one piece of the puzzle, but I think a very important one that again, people, and I should add, Mike, more is not better. I've met a lot of investors real estate investors who go out and buy like 40 properties, and then a year or two, they sell them all because they're so frustrated with the phone calls and the texts and the managing of their tenants. And so it's not a race. It's not a race, but I think thinking strategically that real estate allows you to really leverage and just real quick story, from my perspective, I bought a lot of them at a bad time. 2005, 6, 7, the market was at its height. Well, you only lose if you sell the properties.
Right.
So, for a lot of people, they said, well, geez, you bought at such a horrible time. But now we're in 2020, going into 2021, values have come back and then some. So for even someone like me that really bought at bad timing, very bad timing, time can heal a lot of wounds, especially when it comes to real estate values. And I think you have to think a little longer term and not too short. You have to kind of give yourself a horizon. Because again, as you know, in the Twin Cities here, we're still seeing a very good market with values rising.
Yeah. And the reality is even if the value returning and then some, in the meantime, you've still had mortgages paid down, you've still had depreciation, tax advantages, and all that stuff. So over the past 15 years, you've been able to take advantage of that. And then you did all the work to get it up and running. And now the maintenance of it is a lot less than all the kind of the startup stuff. So you're able to kind of just put it on autopilot and maintain for 15 years and see the fruit from that.
Yeah, and I think very similar to how we run our team and what sort of my core philosophies is finding good people and most importantly, treating them well. And I think it is a very simple business philosophy. But I think when I look at finding tenants, I don't look at them as kind of cogs in the wheel or someone I can take and get rid of them. And, they're just a tenant. And, everybody has a story and everybody deserves to be heard and everyone deserves to be treated fairly and with kindness. And I think for me, again, when you find good tenants and you treat them well, it's not a lot of your time and it's not a lot of headaches and problems. Very similar again to from an agent or broker team standpoint. Again, when you find good people, when you provide value, you treat them well, good things happen over time. It doesn't mean there won't be problems or that people won't leave or go and do other things. Hey, you know what? Life is full of changes, like you said, and I've never claimed to be the only option from a real estate team or broker standpoint. Everybody's got different goals, different things they want to do. And I think when you truly support others in that space, it creates goodwill. And it's not just about you and your team or your life, and I think, again, that is, it's a simple core philosophy, but it's helped our team over the years.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about your transition from agent into starting the team in kind of those first couple of years.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've talked about kind of your philosophy around that, which is fantastic, and I'm sure explains a lot of that growth that happened. But kind of tell me how that initial transition started, how you went from yourself to the first couple agents and growth from there.
Yeah. So when we started the team, I didn't want it to be based on me. I didn't want there to be any disadvantage to any agents on from a marketing perspective, from consumers wondering, hey, who are you? Who's Ryan? Why am I talking to you? And I think I learned early on, Mike, that, as we would generate some leads, whether they were investor buyers or whoever, I could pass the lead to Adam or Rob or Victoria, and the customer would have just as good or better of an experience than they ever did with me. And so I learned early on, it's not about me. Let's create a platform that allows us to kind of collectively leverage each other's strengths and marketing without losing their identity. And so over time, I sold, I worked with buyers, sellers, investors from say 2003 to about 2012, and was also working with agents on the team, helping from a training standpoint, mentoring, lead generation, brokering, doing kind of a lot of different things. And so for me, I found that I wasn't able to really do both well. And so I decided to kind of go all in and focus on the agents on the team as my clients. And that's essentially my role today, is that I don't actively sell. Everything that we generate, leads, neighbors, friends, family, everyone, we pass through the team. And, full disclosure, I probably work a little bit more now than even before. But for me, I think the decision was not one. I've never been one that the dollar motivates my decision. I think what motivates my decisions is again, without sounding cliche-ish, but it really is kind of the heart. What do you want to do? For me, I enjoy the human side of the business and working with other agents and helping them grow and get to where they want to go and do what they want to do. And so for me, that's what caused me to make the decision. It was not, hey, let's do this team thing. I'll get 30 people on board and I can make a bunch of money, passive income off their efforts. People get to know your heart. And I think when you're doing it for the right reasons, it can work really well. I think when people feel like you're not doing something for the right reasons, it's much harder to build and it's much harder to sustain. And I think that is, that's just where in the real estate business, as you know, Mike, people have so many options and choices. And if it really is not meaningful and good for the agent, they're going to leave. Right. And I've had plenty of good people who have left. Never left on bad terms, never left on without me wishing them well and excited for whatever that next step in their journey is, whether starting their own brokerage, starting their own team, you name it. I think I've done this long enough that I realize I can't control what agents are going to do. I can control how I'm going to react, and that's what I focus on. And I think when you do that, it's less personal. It's less, hey, Mike, why, geez, why'd you leave my team? But don't you see all the benefits? Don't you see all the, everybody's different. Everyone has different preferences.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I think about it as, the analogy they say is, you never step in the same stream twice, because the river's not the same river and the man's not the same man. Right. And
right.
So for a lot of people, when you're with them on the team, it might just be, right person, right situation, wrong time. And
sure.
So kind of finding that right balance of, are you meeting the needs of what they're looking for? And then how long do you continue that relationship? And for some people, it's a short term, some people it's a long term. And for a lot of people too, they just find out real estate's hard. It's one of those things where people want to get into because I can make tons of money and have all this freedom of my time. And they just realize I can't make the money I thought I wanted to make by having this freedom of the time that I thought I wanted to have, And so for some people, it's just a challenging piece. But yeah, obviously you've done that well. So in those early years, then what was, as you were looking to attract agents, what were those conversations like? How did you find them? How did you kind of cast that vision to get that core group up and running?
Yeah, a lot of it was we would do some investment property seminars. And so I was doing these seminars and just starting to meet different people and people who'd say, hey, I'm thinking of getting my license. I'd like to get into this business.
Yep.
And so it was really just very grassroots, very active. I'm a big believer in agents, daily. Taking time to meet people in person. If I look back over the last 20 years, I have a face-to-face meeting with someone at least once a day. And I just think, again, when you go back to your core thought about, meeting someone, but looking to provide value and taking interest in them. I think sometimes as agents, we can be too logical. We can think, if I do A, it leads to B. Well, the reality of it is, again, when I started, I'd get a call. Hey, Ryan, this is Bob. I live in Blaine. I want to buy investment property. Well, I would go drive, go meet Bob at Perkins or wherever, sit down, we're talking. He says, you know what, Ryan, I just, my credit's bad. I don't have any money, but I want to invest in real estate. Well, naturally, you assume, hey, this isn't someone that's going to be able to buy right now. But if you genuinely are wanting to try to help them, give them good information, direct them, a month later, I would find my phone ring. Hey, Ryan, this is Frank. You met my brother Bob at Perkins. I'm looking to buy a house in Bloomington. Can I work with you? And so a lot of it is starting to build that kind of referral tree and really, my approach has always been very grassroots, very just a lot of meetings, a lot of direct one-on-one involvement, not a lot of delegation. I mean, I am a believer in delegating and being smart with your time, but I do think the business, the real estate business, is all about people, and it's all about building meaningful relationships with those people. And so, with teams, sometimes people feel like bigger is better and they got to have a certain number of people. And that's not the case. Bigger is not necessarily better. You have to, again, look within and say, what do I want to do with my real estate business, with my real estate team? Do I want to have one agent? Do I just want to have one full-time assistant? Do I want to have 5 agents? There isn't a right or wrong answer. I mean, just because we're a larger team doesn't mean that it's better than what others are doing. So I think that's an important lesson too, Mike, for people to think about.
Well, and I think the underlying theme here for those people, thinking like, well, hey, I thought we were talking about wealth and building wealth. Well, the underlying theme here is have patience, do the
Yeah.
right thing, and let it simmer over time. I think that people are looking for the short-term answer of like, okay, just tell me the three things that I have to do so that I'll have, $10 million when I retire. Okay, well, now you're going to have to do these things for the next 20 years. Well, but I want to do them right now. And it's kind of that balance. And so for you, you've taken a very methodical, patient, um, foundational strategy here that's just blossomed on its own. It's planting a tree, and letting the roots grow, letting the tree grow, and now here you are, 15 years later with this very successful team and this great rental portfolio, and it's because you've done the right thing time over time over time and treated people with respect and helped them out and genuinely cared for them, that it's grown. It's not the quick answer of go do these three things and it's just going to boom by next year. It's be patient and take time and do the right thing.
Well, and I think, Mike, when someone, you're exactly right. When a person does what they really enjoy doing, the money is going to follow. Like my brother Tim with his music business. Well, Tim went to Notre Dame, okay, and my father, who's no longer living, Dad was kind enough to pay for tuition for all of us. So Tim spent 4 years at Notre Dame. At the time, it was, I don't know, probably 30 grand, something like that. Mm-hmm. So Dad worked almost to the day he died. And in Tim's case, providing and paying for a lot of college tuition, which we all, in today's day and age know about. Mm-hmm. After college, Tim really wanted to pursue his music, his passion, and his career. Mm-hmm. My dad, my mom were very supportive of that. And I think because of that support, now Tim with his business, with his music business, just called the O'Neill Brothers, mm-hmm. has blossomed, and it's done extremely well for him. And so I think from a with the title of your podcast, with the overall riding thought being wealth generation, mm-hmm. I think whatever field you're in, or whatever business you're in, don't be afraid to take risks and do what your heart is calling you to do. Because when you do that, you're going to spend the time and the energy to do it. You're going to have a passion for it. You're going to show up, and you're going to start to make money by doing that. And I think once you start making that money, then it's all about, okay, what can I do to be smart to invest that money? Maybe it is real estate. Maybe it is connecting with a really good financial planner who can help you with stock market, with mutual funds, with that side of the house. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's looking at other businesses. I've been fortunate enough to get involved with a couple other small businesses to be able to look at investing in those as well. And I think the foundation, though, comes back to finding what you really enjoy doing, making a good income. And again, if you save whatever it is, a couple $1,000s a year, whatever the amount is not important. But then strategically using that money, don't be afraid to do something with it. Mm-hmm. It's easy to be very conservative and just to, set it and forget it. But I think when you strategically invest in other people, mm-hmm. in like-minded folks who have passion and energy, mm-hmm. good things happen. And so that's something I would say, just as a thought for everyone, is as you look to kind of build and grow wealth, whatever that means for you, don't be afraid to take calculated risks, because sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, and we're not willing to spend $1 on different things. I'll tell you, I've made a lot of bad, incorrect decisions on some things that I've tried to invest with our real estate team and whatnot. It doesn't always work, mm-hmm. but if you keep working hard and you're willing to do that, you know what? You may have some really good winners, and that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a couple thoughts that I am thinking based on what you're saying is, treating people as an investment. A lot of times when you look at the financials of a company, it's like, you treat that salary as an expense, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I could be doing it, but instead I'm going to pay somebody else to do it. And if you look at the people that you're hiring as an investment in the future, now it's like hitching another horse to the wagon.
Right.
Over time, they're gonna bring more to your business through experience and leadership and growth, versus just being an expense on the financials. And so I heard that on another podcast that I was listening to a few months back, where they talked about, next year I'm really focusing on, I'm going to invest in people. I'm going to double down on people, because that's what's going to really take my business to the next level. And so I think that mentality, that's really your approach, is finding good people, investing in them. And that is an investment versus an expense.
It can help you too, Mike. It can help by, again, maybe leveraging your time. A good concept, overriding concept with this podcast too, is just the idea of leveraging your time. You can only be doing one thing at a time every day, and not being afraid to spend a little to find someone good, treat them well, make it fair, make it promising for them and very good. And that can help your business. Again, that can help your business grow. And I think for agents, watching this, that maybe you're doing a lot of business, but you feel run down. You feel, my gosh, I don't have time to do anything. Hiring someone an hour a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day to help you administratively. Sure, that there is money. It's going to cost money, but anything, any good business is going to have a good chunk of expenses. And don't be afraid to spend. But again, you want to be smart with it, but does it help you? Does it free up your time to focus on what you love doing, where you can spend your time, where you can get the biggest bang for your buck?
Yeah. So where you're at today, then where are you spending your time? So you said a lot of your time is, kind of coaching and training and leading your team. You said you've got some other businesses. What does a typical week look like for you, in terms of how you're spending your time?
Yeah, for me, what motivates me is really trying to meaningfully impact others, on a daily standpoint in a positive way. And whether that's business related, whether that's personally, taking time to have a cup of coffee with a friend, to help someone who might be struggling, trying to find a job, somebody who is struggling in the real estate business. That's what kind of gets me out of bed, Mike. And I think I would say most of my day is working with our team members in that capacity. But it's also trying to take time to elevate others. I think just a real quick example. With our team, sometimes we have agents who will come in. We'll talk about their successes that they have, and we had an agent come in, a gentleman named Dan Frank. Dan's just a great guy, friend. He's been with us for a while, and Dan says, at the end of the day, he said, on your obituary, have you ever read an obituary that said, Dan Frank was a wonderful listing agent, or was an excellent buyer's broker? It was a good thought, because I think we can let this business, or our sales volume, or our sales transactions, or our income define us. And I never want that to happen. I never want that to anyone to feel that. And so I think for me, that's, again, trying to follow a passion, trying to follow what you enjoy doing. Again, I think the money follows. I think that I truly, in whatever business, whether it is real estate or having friends that run other businesses, when your heart is really in the game, the money comes. And so I think that's part of it too, is if you're watching this and, maybe you're in real estate and you're like, gosh, do I really enjoy doing this? Like you said earlier, this is a tough job. This is not an easy job. There's so many things that can go wrong, and that's okay. It doesn't, if real estate's not for you, that's all right. It's not a big deal. And so, a lot of my week is again, I'm working like everybody, working, I would say a lot. My wife and I don't have kids. We have a little dog, but, really my life is pretty active, and, I'm grateful for that. And again, grateful for these kind of opportunities too, to just try to provide some type of content that could be useful to others.
Yeah. So then, as you think about the future, what's the future of your team look like? What's the future kind of your financial investments look like here as you're kind of planning for whether it's retirement or whether it's just freedom type of decisions you can make, whether it's time
Yeah.
freedom or whatever it looks like. What's that look like for you?
Yeah. I think, much like my dad, I think I'm probably going to be the type that will work until the day I die.
Mm-hmm.
Partly because I do enjoy it. And I think there's such value, intrinsic value, to have a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that being retired is not, because I have a lot of friends. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who's also in his 40s,
Mm-hmm.
who just retired. And for him, what he wants to do is travel
Mm-hmm.
and go on trips and spend time with his wife. And for me, it's not that I don't want to do those things, Mike. I do. I feel a calling to do my best every day and to meaningfully impact people every day. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's not that I don't want to have fun and take trips and do whatever, because we do some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think the way that I'm wired is really, I have an accountability to myself to make every day count.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think for me, I don't really anticipate any kind of retirement. I think it would be fun to have some type of foundation or some type of something that maybe my wife and I set up at some point, giving back to communities, to important causes. And again, I think that's something too, that especially during the pandemic here,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something important to do. It gives us all a sense of being grateful. And just a quick example, again, we did a little food drive for Veep here in Bloomington, for at Thanksgiving. And when we went over to deliver the food, there were two lines. Okay, and I was talking on my phone. I was talking on my phone, and I got in the one line that had like 40 cars in it, and the other one there was nobody in it, and I wasn't thinking exactly. Well, sure enough, I got to the front, and the line with the 40 cars was people waiting to get food. And little things like that can really dawn on you and say, hey, we have so much to be grateful for, to be able to be working, to be able to be doing what we're doing, to be able to even donate anything at all. So I think trying to stay involved in some, whether it's financially or just on a day-to-day standpoint, is important for us all, to create some gratefulness, and give you more purpose on growing your business, growing your wealth, whatever that wealth means, whether it's your legacy, whether it's the people in your life, whether it's a certain amount of money. There's no right or wrong answer, but how are you going to grow that wealth? How are you going to grow that legacy?
Yeah, fantastic. So as we kind of wrap up here, what advice would you give? Obviously, there's been so many great pieces and nuggets as we've talked throughout the time here, but for somebody considering getting into real estate, or for somebody new in their real estate career, as you think about building wealth, or as you think about getting traction in your real estate career, what are the things you typically tell the agents that come your way?
I would say, take it. Don't be too hard on yourself. Take it very slowly, and realize, much like anything in life, it's like it's kind of like running a marathon. This is not a sprint. Getting into the real estate agent business is not a sprint. What you want to do is a little bit every day. Learn a little bit. Get to know other people in the industry. Take time, build meaningful relationships. Be interested in others. By doing that, you're going to start to create relationships. You're going to start to get to know different people. You're going to start to get clients. And then once you have those clients, treat them well. Keep in touch with them. Reach out to them, and not reach out like, hey, are you looking to buy or sell a home? But hey, how's the family? How are the kids? What's new? And the best real estate agent businesses I've seen with all of the brokers are relationship-based businesses. They are referral-based businesses. But you have to remember when you're starting out, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes showing up. It takes making a good effort. But when you look back over 6 months, over a year, over 2 years, again, with a strong effort, a positive attitude, and interest in other people, anybody can succeed at this job. But it does require time and effort. And I think if you're patient with yourselves, it comes over time.
Yeah. Fantastic. So how can folks get a hold of you or get a hold of your team or anything that you kind of want to plug here?
Yeah, no, anybody watching at all, that whether you're an individual agent and you want to talk about the business, whether you're forming a team or you're growing a team, you have a team and you want to chat, I'm always happy to help, regardless of brokerage, regardless of where you're located. I'm happy to help. mnrealestateteam.com is our website, mnrealestateteam.com. Feel free to drop me an email or call. I'm happy to help. And again, I just appreciate the opportunity, Mike. This is a great podcast, a great show that you're providing. I think the idea of creating wealth is so important wherever you're at in the process, whether you're just starting out, whether you've been doing this a long time, that's okay. But taking the advice of the various speakers you've had is important. And again, I just appreciate the opportunity to be with you, and you're doing a great job, man. I appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks. Yeah, and really, what I want to leave people with is you gotta kind of keep hanging around it to move the ball forward. Because if you're not intentional, 6 months can go by, 12 months can go by, 5 years can go by, and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't take the time to build good habits, to plant those seeds so that they can grow. And one of the things that we used to tell our agents a lot is, there's 2 great times to plant a tree, 20 years ago or today. So if you haven't done the right things leading up to today, today's your chance to start planting the seeds for the future. Yeah. And so really that's great. And I just love your mentality around this of, doing the right things again and again and again over time. It's going to build this big, beautiful tree that you've planted a long time ago, versus trying to rush and plant 50 trees and then, it didn't work, we'll chop them all down and we'll plant another 50 trees. And so your approach has been fantastic. So
well, thank you. Nope, it's been an honor to be with you. And again, like you said, today is a new day. Don't be too hard on yourself, whether you haven't succeeded, whether you got bad credit, whether you don't have enough. Today's a new day to start something new, and like you said, to kind of begin anew.
Yep. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Awesome job. Appreciate you.